Well, we thought I am recording, but we thought that you had to push record before you went Facebook Live. Is that true?
No.
Click
I don't
on
think
record
so.
at the bottom and check if it lets you.
It says it's recording now.
It let me. So welcome, Facebook world. We're still figuring out why it takes 1,700 seconds to push 15,000 buttons to go live on Facebook. We're grateful for that opportunity, but my goodness, and I'm like holding my tongue a certain way to get it to work right. Bizarre. So, welcome to this is the highlight, one of the highlights of my week, another NACWE Tuesday Community and Education webinar. We always meet at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's open to everyone. It wasn't in the past. In the past, you could only come for free once or twice a month, and the other times you had to be a paid NACWE member to join. Now we've changed it up so that everyone is invited. You can invite your friends. You can invite your friends' friends. But the recordings are only saved in the NACWE classroom vault of over 800 and something things. The number changes every week. And so if you're a paid NACWE member or a comped NACWE member, you should have a password where you can get in there and get anything you want. We are focusing for September and October and for the conference on working God's way. New things in NACWE, thanks to Danica and the amazing Jasmine on the NACWE team, are games and achievement avenue, sort of path to success to kind of get you where you want to go. This is what this looks, that's the game. Some note pages, and then the path to success. So there you go. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I actually downloaded them, and that's what I'm using to take notes for the not for the conference, for the webinars now, just because it was cute and pretty, and really I wanted to kill a couple of trees, as Diane would say. This month, as we're talking about working God's way, we heard from Joy Caps, Why You Need to Write Joyfully. We heard from Dr. Tony Robinson, Dream Another Dream, The Power of Dreaming with God, and really heard some messages from her. And today we're going to hear from Heather Rosson. She's in Arizona, and another one of those divine appointments from the Lord. And now we can't get enough of one another. We're in each other's stuff all week, almost every week. Yeah. I skipped this weekend. I hope you can understand why I didn't show up. But anyway, she is a productivity expert. I mean, all the things that I've been allowed to download from her, I don't know what you're giving us today or what your offer is today. I didn't even ask, but the things that I've been able to download from her have been amazing. And I'm Excel, I live in Excel files, and so, you know, I appreciate the Excel files, and I'm working in Excel files. She's going to title her topic today, Now is the New Later, the Termination of Procrastination. And I'm telling you, if you can help me terminate procrastination, you'll be my best friend forever and ever. I'm going to shout out really quickly about the NACWE conference, which is this week. We really actually have maybe one or maybe two empty seats because we're limiting the number of people. We sort of have a viewing party this year because of COVID. And then, but of course we have almost limitless number of virtual seats, and it's not too late to join up. If you go to NACWE.org/2020 NACWE conference, you'll have all the details there. We'd love to have you join us. We still have some opportunities for joining us. And don't worry, I'll post everything you need to know about everything in the chat room. So watch the chat room. Hey, Kathy from Alabama. Another up and coming thing, you know, you can't wait till the conference is over to tell what's happening next, and I'll post this in your chat room as well, is we usually plan in September for the last quarter, October, November, and December of the year. But I just couldn't put it together. So the planning days that we usually do are going to be in October. There will be one planning day, October 10th, which is pretty much the full day Saturday. And I know that's a stretch, but we have so many people who want to get that planning done all in one fell swoop for lots of reasons, mainly because you're still turned on, and each step in planning kind of informs the next step in planning. It's my preferred way of doing it, even though it's kind of an exhausting way, but we take lots of breaks, or actually we take lots of breaks if you remind me that you need breaks. And then we'll do it again that next week, October 14th and 15th from 6 to 9. We may not need a full 6 hours, but the last time we used the full 6 hours. So as you can imagine, the beauty of it is that at the end of that those sessions, you have a plan for the next quarter for one of your projects, services, products, one of your launches, one of your offers that is tried and true, solid, ready to go. And then we can also, if you want, talk you through creating a marketing strategy for that plan. That's what we do in our PDF mastermind group. We do it every single quarter. And then we do other things in between because we're kind of masters at it by now, if I can say so, pat us on the back. So there's a conference special where you can get into that mastermind and just do this over and over and over again with us. You get like 30-something weeks a month mastermind with everybody, and we've been making it happen in there. I need a head nod, at least from Danica. I can't see everybody else. Then the rest of this month, we're going to hear from Ebony Truss, Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, Kelly Bader. Kelly's on YouVersion. You can find Kelly on YouVersion. Nicole Kirksey, Althea McIntyre, and I put me at the end of the month, which I really would like to present to you, but I think we're going to invite Michelle Pippin in to do an extra special thing with us. She's a marketing whiz, and we always need help marketing. So in the chat room, please introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what your primary entrepreneur endeavor is and what working God's way means to you, since that's our theme right now. Introduce yourselves to one another. Give us at least one link to find you wherever you want us to find you. A little networking opportunity there. And then let's zoom right on. I'm going to stop my share, pray us in, and let Heather take over the floor before she has to get on a plane to come here for the NACWE conference. I appreciate that so much. Father God, thank you for this beautiful group of Christian women entrepreneurs, our friends, our sisters in Christ, our sisters in entrepreneur endeavors. We're grateful, Lord, for who you are, for who we are in you, to rub shoulders with women like this from all across the country and from all across the world is the greatest privilege. It's what kind of makes my world go round each week, obviously. And so I'm just grateful for that, Lord, and I pray a special blessing over them, over their health, over their home lives, over their work lives, over their, for some of them, travels over the next few days as they come to be with us for NACWE conference time. And I pray a special blessing over Heather, her family, her health, her travels, and her time that she's so graciously given us today to present. Well, we want to stop procrastinating, and I'm anxious to hear more of how to do that exactly. I pray that this would be a really fun and energetic and engaging hour for her and for all of us as well, Lord, and really that we would rest in you, that we would feel your presence, that we would hear from you today, Lord, that we would be able to take a nugget away that changes the way we work God's way, the way we work for you. And I ask these things in Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
So thank you, Heather. I'm going to let you do your best introduction of you, but I will tell y'all, this is another one of those situations where you're like, how did you guys meet? And we have to say, I don't know. You know, I'm going to guess it was through Diane. I don't know. It's usually through Diane.
Yeah, right.
The connector. But you know, most of the time when I can't even tell you almost how I found NACWE, but I am so grateful to the Lord. These are divine appointments. We're each other's mutual admiration society kind of. And so we're anxious to hear from you. So grateful for, we met, well, at the lake house, actually, first face-to-face first. Mm-hmm. She came all the way from Arizona to be with us at the lake house for Diane's, I don't know, shindig. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're so grateful to the Lord for these appointments, for everyone in the room and those who will listen in later as well. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you shine your way. God bless you.
Thank you. Fantastic. I am so glad that you guys are here.
And like Karen said, I am getting on a plane tomorrow to go there and be at the NACWE conference, and I'm pretty excited about that as well. Today I'm talking about procrastination, and at the NACWE conference I'm talking about working with the way God made you. And so they kind of like mesh together really, really well. So I don't know if I can see answers here, but let me get where I can share my screen. If I look like I'm leaning in, I am. So I'm gonna quickly jump to there and then jump to the notes here. Okay, so now is the new later, the termination of procrastination. So the first thing that we wanna know is, what is procrastination? It isn't, so first of all, let me just say, like, I don't ever believe people are lazy. Like, it's not what's happening. What's happening is we fall into this habit of procrastination. So procrastination is a combination of two things, and it doesn't mean just like taking a break. We need to do that, okay? It is not a respecter of persons, okay? So if you struggle with procrastination, know that you are in the 80 to 95% of the population that does, okay? And we're talking about highly successful CEOs. We're talking about PhD students, right? We're talking about entrepreneurs and business owners and like the highly successful people of the world. Many of them struggle with procrastination. So it's not, it's not just the thing for you. So what is it? It is, we're putting off until tomorrow what we mean to do today. So it's not just waiting till tomorrow to do something. It has to do with our intention. So if we intend to do something now or today, and we're putting it off against our better judgment, right? We know when we're procrastinating, we know the things that we want to be doing. So I'm going to really quickly here start with some statistics. I know they're not everybody's favorite, but I think it gives us some good perspective for where we are and where we're going. Okay, so again, 80 to 90% of people in the United States say procrastination has had an impact on them, and it is going up, right? This is huge. 1 in 5 people struggle with chronic procrastination. And that means that it's affected their jobs, their relationships, led to health problems, right? Like it has become like a major issue. 73% have said it has a negative impact on their life, and they struggle with it like very much or extreme. So, this is one, like it's 3/4 of the people, right? And 40% of the people have had a financial loss due to procrastination. So whether it's forgetting to send in something that you need to send in to like redeem a rebate, but it has financial impacts. Now this is the biggest thing, right? Like, it's not your fault. This is why I say people aren't lazy. Our brains are constructed this way. So when we talk about how God made us, right, we have the 3 parts that I'm going to talk about, like the amygdala, which is the fight, flight, or freeze part of your brain, the basal ganglia, which is that middle, like functioning on autopilot part of your brain, and then the cortex and the prefrontal cortex, which is where your decisions are made. And so what's happening is our brains, like our brains were built to do 2 things, right? Survive and thrive and conserve calories. And that's like biologically what they were made to do. So we really want the biggest reward with the least amount of work. And it's where our brains are going. So I will talk about this a little bit maybe later, but what's happening is that reward and pain system, right? You're perceiving more pain involved than the reward you're going to get out of it. And usually it's because the reward is delayed, right? Like if you think about most of the things we procrastinate, it's the long-term goals. It's the Like we need to do this right now, but the reward for what we're doing isn't coming until later. It also coincides with all the personality types. So again, speaking of how God made you, how many of you guys, just, I can see a few of you on the side here, like know and like the Enneagram personality test? Yeah. So just, I'm a 7, okay? And 7 on Enneagrams, they're known as like the little scattered puppies because they have want to do all the things, right? And have all the ideas and like get bored super easily, right? So I start something, right? So that's what I've had to fight against and what I've had to overcome in order to do this. It doesn't change my personality. I just find ways to work with how God created me because he needs me to be me and he needs you to be you. So if we're talking about Enneagram, only 1s and 8s finish things easily, right? So out of 9 personality types, 2 of them actually do the things pretty, like without too much resistance. And it's because they're trying, 1s are trying to do all the things right, and 8s are just not indecisive. They just make a decision. 8s are not indecisive. They just make a decision and go. So most of the people talking about productivity are those type A people, right? Like they like to make lists. They keep them all down. It's like comes natural to them. It's second nature. And when I started doing all this, I thought, I need somebody who actually gets it. So I became that instead. Let's just go to the next one. So what do we want to talk about here today? We want to talk about the reasons. So you will never have enough willpower to overcome procrastination. Never. Like our willpower is never going to get us there. So we have to look at like this root cause of it, because then we can do something very specific to get away from it. Okay, so procrastination is a symptom of fear or overwhelm. We'll talk about that. We will talk about procrastination as a symptom of perfectionism, or vice versa. I think they could be symptoms of each other, but procrastination because you're the eternal optimist, and procrastination because you like the adrenaline rush of getting things done at the last minute. It is like this adrenaline rush junkie. So until you beat the underlying cause of your procrastination, you won't beat procrastination. And we've all been in the middle of this, middle of each one of these. So it's important in the moment to recognize, like, what am I doing, right? So do you guys remember a time when you felt like what it felt like to not procrastinate? How did that, like, somebody take themselves off mute and just tell me, like, how does it feel when you don't procrastinate?
I just recently in December finished grad school, and I will tell you, I am a chronic procrastinator. Just by nature, I want to draw and play and have a good time. But during grad school, when I took statistics, I could not procrastinate, because if I did, I would get so far behind I couldn't catch up, and I would panic to the point of, like,
She went on mute. You went on mute, Kathy.
uh-oh. I thought I was unmuted and then it muted.
Yeah.
That was weird. So I just finished, what part did you not get? During grad school, I was in, I took a statistics class, and in that class, I could not procrastinate, because if I did, I was totally behind. So I had this fight or flight, just sitting in my chair, working online, panic on. So I learned really quickly to not procrastinate in that class. And It was pretty good. I wasn't perfect at it, but I got a lot better in that. So it just, it makes me stressed out just thinking about it. But it was absolutely necessary, or I would have not passed.
Yeah, so that when we talk about like the pain and reward system, Kathy came up against a class, right, that it caused more pain to procrastinate than it was worth. Right, that's really what happened. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, anybody else? I can like maybe one more person if you want.
I just know how freeing, that's the word that came to me, is how freeing it feels. An example would be for us is that every year with the NACWE team, thank you girls, we've been able to plan 15, sometimes 18 months ahead. Even that, we have next year's dates, we have next year's speaker for the conference, we have next year's Tuesday webinars pretty much lined up. I mean, it's amazing. It just takes the pressure off, and I feel free. I feel free to be me. I feel free to show up. Still struggle with that one, and I just feel there's just a freedom in it. I don't know what everybody else would say, but it's worth it.
Yeah. No, I think it's the perfect word. Like the freedom that comes when you don't do it. And even though we know that logically, right, we don't always follow through on it. So this is what I was talking about with Kathy, that pleasure pain cycle. Our brains, when I talk about habits, right, I talk a lot about like the trigger, the action, and then the reward. So it's that reward piece, right, which creates the pathway in our brain that creates the desire for us to want to do it again, right? And so when that reward is delayed, as it like so oftentimes is, we don't have that. And so we're working against sort of the natural, what our brain wants to do. Procrastination is an emotion coping response, okay? You're not lazy, right? Like, it's the emotions that are whatever it is with it that we're trying to avoid: embarrassment, incompetence, boredom, fear. And then there's so many different ways that we procrastinate. So go ahead and put in the chat box, like, what's your favorite way to procrastinate? Like going to watch Netflix, writing and drawing, like you were saying, like when you think you ought to be doing something else. Maybe it's procrastinacking, right? Like, I'm there. Our brains are wired to pick immediate gratification over the delay. And so we have to learn to delay gratification. And we knew this like growing up, but I don't know, it always just struggle. So I'm gonna see if I can find the chat here so that I can see what some of you guys said. There we go.
We can read it to you too.
Yeah.
One person says, I love writing and researching almost anything. Another says playing with the grand doorbells. That's from Karen. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Procrastinating.
It's like my favorite, right? Like, oh, I go to the fridge and I open up and I'm like standing there looking in it for, I don't know.
I love that term. I will use that term. What are you doing, Kathy? Procrastinating.
I'm procrastinating, right? So the difference between procrastinating and taking a break, which if you guys follow me for any amount of time, you'll know, like, taking a break. And in fact, my motto is getting things done so we have more time for faith, family, and fun. Like, those are my highest priorities, right? Like, I want to have fun in this life. And so, but the difference between those two things is really just all about intention. Oh, that's funny, Rebecca.
That is funny.
Rebecca said she spit her coffee.
I want a picture.
Yeah. That's funny. So, like I said earlier, the first step we need to do is figure out why we're procrastinating, and then use some very specific strategies to move through it. So as a symptom of overwhelm, right? We all know we've looked at a big project that we have, right? And it looks like, oh, so big that we can't do it, right? And so and I do this with laundry. Right? Like if I let my laundry go too long, all of a sudden it's a big pile and it's more than I want to do.
I feel you.
Yeah. So I get overwhelmed by it. And then when I get overwhelmed by it, I'm like, I'm going to hide from it. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. Like that helps anything. It just keeps getting bigger and more overwhelming. So when we're overwhelmed, a lot of times it's that, or it's so big we just don't know where to begin, right? You ever procrastinated because you felt like that, because you just didn't know where to begin? Like, I don't even know where to start. And so a couple things there. When I know I'm feeling like that, I do walk away from it for a few minutes. And because when I'm feeling like that, I know that I don't have it broken down enough to help me get it done, right? So I always say, if I can look at my to-do list and I don't know the very next thing I need to do, then it's not broken down enough, right? So if it says like, finish my sales page, well, what do I need to do that? Do I need to do some more research? Do I need to write some copy? Do I need to look for images? Do I need to create some images on Canva? Like, I don't know what finish my sales page means, right? So just breaking it down. And if I still look at it, like I'm always asking myself the question, is there anything I need to do before that? Is there anything I need to do before that? Right? Because then it could be as simple as like, hey, text Karen and ask her this question about, about the conference before I can make a decision about the thing I need to do next. So that text could be like the next thing I need to do, right? So not knowing what to do next. Overwhelm and fear kind of go together. Anybody in here ever struggle with imposter syndrome? I know. Somebody said this to me and I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. If you struggle with imposter syndrome, you are not an imposter. Because if you are, you're not struggling with it, right?
That's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm telling you, those people, like they just like go. If they don't know what they're talking about, they like talk like they do. They don't have a problem. So if you have imposter syndrome, you're not an imposter. You know what you're doing. And then we have like fear of failure. Let me see if I click here. So I am usually, there we go. Fear of failure, fear of success, right? Fear of what someone's gonna think, fear of looking stupid or weak or inferior or lazy or not all put together, or like many, many, many things, right? So when we're talking about fear of success, people are like, what do you mean fear of success or fear of failure? The one of the ways that I think you can use to battle that, right, is to sit down and write out 5 ways success can look like. Like, what are 5 ways that will say that was a success? Because we get stuck, right, in one way of thinking, and whatever that fear is for failure, it's only about one thing usually, right? And again, we're back to personality types, depends on what you're doing. If you're a 3, you're afraid you're gonna, like, what other people are gonna think, right? If you're a 7, like me, you're afraid you're gonna miss out on all the good things, right? If you're a 1, you're afraid you're not gonna do it right. Okay, so there's all of those things. So for this one, for me, like write out the 5 ways success can look. And then the other thing that I do for both of these, this is like, anybody who's known me for very long knows this is my question all the time. What's the worst case scenario? Like it plays consistently in my head always. What's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? Because I promise you the worst case scenario is not death, right? As Christians, we know that, right? And it also is like, there's just nothing that's so big that if I do the thing, right, that I'm not doing. Same with, so the symptom of perfectionism. So who was it? I was watching a thing the other day. I think it was Jennifer Allwood who was doing a thing on perfectionism the other day. And it was so beautiful because it is a way like saying, I just want to make it perfect. I just want it to be, I want it to be good. I want to put it out right. I want to serve my clients perfectly, right? All of that is your brain tricking you into procrastinating and focusing more on you than them, or really on not keeping your eyes on Jesus, right? If we just keep our eyes on him, then we know we can't be perfect. In fact, he says like the best we can do is like filthy rags without him. So we need him, and I'm just glad that I can keep my eyes on him and just keep moving forward, right? A lot of times when you know you're in this perfectionism state is because even your successes don't feel like successes, right? It's that, and this is why I think it's important to write out the 5 ways success can look like, because then you can recognize it and remind yourself, yes, right? Because with the, like, it's that never enough, right? There's a difference between moving forward and taking action steps and striving, right? Like striving in your own power to create whatever success you're going to create. And I mean, we have an advantage, ladies, because we have God, right? And so we know that whatever we're doing, like our success isn't ours, it's his. And so I think in this area, we do have an advantage that way if we can keep focusing there. This is my favorite one. So the optimistic, right? Like the symptoms of eternal optimism. And usually it is, I can get, you've heard the people who are late all the time, they're just optimists because they think they can get more done in the amount of time than they can. So this was a client of mine. She came to me, she's like, I cannot get my to-do list done. I don't know what is wrong with me. Like, it doesn't matter how hard I hustle. Well, she had like, she thought she could do 40 hours worth of work in a day, right? So she's just that eternal optimist. If this is you, right, estimate how long something might take you and then double it, at least, right? So if you're like, oh, I can do that in 5 minutes, you need 15. This funny story, when my kids were younger, and some of this is sometimes you just don't realize how much all the little things add up time-wise. So when my kids were in preschool, the director of that preschool, I was like, I don't know what is wrong with me. I cannot get them here on time. And I'm like, I know how long it takes me to drive here. Like I leave, I start getting everybody in the car in time, but we just never get here in time. And she said, you need to add 5 minutes for each kid that you have. And I had 3. And then another 5 minutes. So that was like 20 minutes I needed to add on, right, to my time. And it was just like this lack of knowledge or this optimism that I should be able to get there and get it all done. And so, let's see. Next. And then the adrenaline rush. So I spent way more years than I want to admit, saying, I just work better under pressure. Yep. Right? Anybody else? Okay, so this is what happens. We have this positivity bias is what I'm going to call it for right now. It's a cognitive dissonance it's having, and it doesn't matter how many times you're proven wrong. If you were proved right once, your brain tells you, I just work better under pressure. So for me, that came when I was a freshman in college, and I had freshman English, right? And I'm a math person, you guys. I have, my degrees are math and religious studies, so I have a little bit of both sides of the brain going on, but writing is just like pulling teeth, right, for me. Like I could do technical writing, I just want to get the information out there. So in college, in freshman English, I'd write a paper, I did it ahead of time, I went back and edited it, I moved things around, right, and I get a C. And then the next one, I did it at like 3 a.m. the night before, turned it in at 8, and I got an A. So that was my like proof positive that I just work better under pressure. Right? Never mind all of the stress involved in staying up at, from 3 in the morning till 8 to get it done or whatever. Like, it caused so much thing. In fact, one of the things with this one that I work better under pressure thing, right, is your brain starts telling you, well, I work better under pressure, so it's the right thing to do for me to watch Netflix right now. Like I need to create, right, some pressure to so that I get that right the first time. And again, it's your brain tricking you. Okay, it's a myth. I just sort of, we remember the one time. And nobody works better under pressure, you just work faster. And so as you all know, because I know Karen does these every day, the Pomodoro sessions, right? They're like the super focused work faster time. So we don't work better, we just work faster under pressure. And sometimes we don't overthink it, right? So if we can take those two things out of the equation, nobody works better under pressure. Is all procrastination harmful? No, right? Let me see, I think I put that here somewhere. The short answer is no. But it has to do with intention, right? We can intentionally put something off for reasons that we know we need, right? That's not procrastination. Self-care, I think that's, let's see. Not all procrastination is created equal. So self-care is something that we need, and is, again, it's not procrastination. That's why I always say self-care is productive. Also, if you haven't planned for it, life happens, right? Your grandkids drop in unexpectedly. Well, I don't know about you, I don't have grandkids yet, but even with my 17-year-old daughter, when she says, hey mom, do you wanna, right? If I can make it happen, I'm gonna make it happen. Because she doesn't wanna hang out with me all the time. and our grandkids, that's what life is about. And so I think that helps, right? We can't do all the things right now. Like I already told you guys, I'm a 7. I want to do all the things right now, but I just can't. So I need to be super intentional about what I add to my plate. And so when I start talking about Parkinson's law, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but Parkinson's law says that your work will take up the amount of time you give it. Doesn't matter how much time you give it, it will take up that whole time, which is why Pomodoros are so powerful, right? Because you're making your plate smaller. So I've made my plate smaller. Now I have to be super intentional about what I'm allowing into it. So I'm letting my yes be yes, my no be no, leaving white space in my day because life happens, and leaving room for thinking. Imagine that. Oh yeah. So this is like the two things I think combat productivity the most, beyond finding out what kind it is, right? And employing the strategies for those. But create a battle cry. So if you guys know Mel Robbins' 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, like there's no special power in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is about bringing that decision making to the cortex part of your brain. So I would way rather have something that's way more fun than 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Right? So for me, a lot of times it's what I just said a little bit ago, like, what's the worst case scenario? Right? Wallace, God, Braveheart, right? And he's like, freedom. So you know, Karen's might be freedom, because that's how she feels, right? When she's not procrastinating. And it sounds super funny, but it's just like this, like, you know, you start to feel when you're going into that mode and you're like, okay, you know, whatever your battle cry is, you can take that on. And then surrounding yourself with community, which you guys all know because you're here in NACWE. I think it's like a beautiful thing between this community, my membership community. Like, it's like-minded people, or like-minded women in the case of NACWE, who support each other. And, you know, we can, if I'm feeling really like, I don't know what my problem is, I can't get this done, I can text Diane, or I can text Karen, or, right, and be like, I don't know what my problem is. And they'll be like, well, what's going on? You know, they'll just ask enough questions. It's that community. And have any of you guys ever gone to a conference, or, I mean, we're getting ready to go to one, right? And you come out of the back end, I do, of any live event, like on fire, right? Because there's been all these great ideas and all this environment of action and an environment of success that's happening. And so you come out of that, like feeding on it. That's all the community building you up. I think I'm gonna stop there for a second and say, do you guys have any questions or something you want me to talk about more? I think I'm gonna stop sharing for a second because I want to see you a little better. Anybody have any questions that you, yeah, do it now. Okay, for at least one whole year, my battle cry was just do the damn thing. So
Get her done.
if that offends you, yeah.
Get her done.
That's what had to be in my head, right? Like, just do it. Yeah. And it helps, right? Thank you. I like my crosswalk too, Rebecca. Go ahead.
I have a question. I have a client who constantly is afraid of what God might ask them to do. So if I procrastinate it, then I might not have to do that, but they don't understand they're missing the reward or the blessing or the feeling of freedom or whatever, but it's really a fear-based thing. Or maybe it's God is not enough. Like, he asked me to go to some remote village in Iceland or whatever. Can you speak into that? Like, how can I help that client?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, that all hinges back on trust. Like, do you trust God to put the things in your life that you both need and desire? Because, like, if I'm functioning in the realm of like, I don't want him to ask me to do this thing, it's because I'm trying to avoid what he's already asking. Right? And it could be just that fear of failure. And I mean,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think the answer to that too is like you're right. You're not enough to do that. With God, you're enough. Like that's the point. Right? He's asking you to do something. There's what scriptures it says like, you know, he uses the donkey to and the words of the foolish to confound the words of the wise. Like he's always, there's a reason he asked me, who is a big picture thinker, all over the place, like has huge ideas all the time, to talk about procrastination or productivity, right? Because on my own, I can't do it. I need him. And I need to trust that he's going to work all things together for good. And I think too, what people sometimes misunderstand in that is they don't want the struggle that comes along with it. And he is refining them in the fire, right? Like, it's in the struggle that growth happens. It's in the wind that trees get strong. And so if we're always avoiding that side of things, then we're not letting him do the work he wants to do in us. Did that answer your question?
Lee, I took notes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm loving the focus a bit on the neurobiological, you know, how your brain works around this too, because that gives me freedom. Just knowing that, you know, I have some control over what I tell my brain to do and what it's going to continue to do for me. It seems like this year, I think, Dr. Sandra, you took us there. The essential oils people took us there. I think Dr. Sharon took us there. There are so many people that kind of helped us focus on the neurobiological aspect of it all that I wrote, there's such freedom in that. I wrote, next year I want us to do a series called, remember the old commercial from my day, where the egg was frying on the sidewalk and they said, this is your brain on drugs, you know, don't do drugs. Well, I want to do this is your brain on entrepreneurship. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know if I have a question, like I want you to expand on that. I think what I want, two questions. One, will you come back and talk more specifically about productivity and neurobiology? And then the other is, where have you gone to study the neurobiology of all of this stuff? Can you give us some resources maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I can probably find them and put them in the group. I don't have them off the top of my head. But yeah, I just find it interesting. Like I said, my background, so my bachelor's degree is in math and in religion, like I did 2 degrees, a BS and a BA, so religious studies. And then I have a master's in theology. And that's when I did my coaching certification. So it's always been this like thing in me, right? That this right brain, left brain thing. And it's that math side of my brain that likes to know all of the statistics, all of the why, all of the like why can I not just willpower myself out of this? And that's true in all of life. Like, and so that just becomes like a passion project of mine. Like I'm like, ooh, and I start reading and I just can't quit reading it. So, but I can get some resources together for sure. Let's see. I do have, so I have a couple things for you guys. One of them is a quick ebook, right? That's the 12 productivity hacks that'll change your life. And the top 3 killers of productivity, right, in that. And so I will put the link to that up. But I also want to invite you, if it's okay. Let me see. Oh, I just went on the wrong place. I'm sorry.
It's required.
It's required. I'm going to share my screen again.
If you don't shout from the rooftops who you are and what you do, nobody else will do it.
Nobody else will. Yeah. Okay. So obviously there's a lot more to accomplishing our God-side mission than just eliminating procrastination, right? It's like one little teeny tiny piece of it. And so Karen is with me in the membership, and I want to invite you guys in. I will tell you right now, like, this is not an outward facing link because it's like closed right now. So that's why it says is closed on the end there, because that's what I add to it and take it off the other one to make it go to the it's closed waiting page. So I would love if you guys would like to join us there. What we do in there is, so we do some planning. We do a lot of the same things NACWE does, which is, you know, we're really in sync that way. But I would also say, and I'm going to say this, and I don't think they would be offended, right? Like, we plan something and as a group, and then 3 weeks later, when we get together for our Get Stuff Done Day, that's when they're doing it, whatever we talked about 3 weeks ago. And so we all like need this co-working and sense of community. And so really that's what that's about, is just about the sense of community. And then the next thing, my group is Christian Entrepreneurs Collaborative. So I would love to have you in there. And there's the link to the PDF. So one of the things too that on October 1st, I'm releasing the course that's coming up. And so if you get on any of these lists, you'll like know about it, or pop into the group. I'll put stuff in there. But it is a full productivity course that works backwards from the way most people do it. So it's not like we don't do long-term planning, but what happens is people, like, you know, January comes and they plan for the year or for the quarter, but they don't do the extra steps, right, to either break that down, or they haven't gotten control of their day, so none of that ever gets done. It's the reason they're setting a goal at the beginning of September and have the same goal at the end of October, or at the beginning of October, because their days are all messed up. So we work backwards, right? Like, we have a like conquer your day kind of a mentality that comes in first. Obviously, all, you know, 5 productive days strung together makes for a productive week. So rather than like all that forward looking, in fact, when I plan, I don't even plan detailed like in the next weeks. I have, Karen knows this, like weekly bins, right? And so for my second week, I know I'm doing this, this, and this, and it's just like going in the week 2 bin for right now. And then I look at it like right before. I'm too like, things change too quickly for me to like be like, I'm doing this on the 12th, unless it's a set appointment. And so that's just where I work from. So anyway,
that's one of the game-changing tips that you gave for me is, you know, we plan 12-week years, right? And quarterly, but you've got to plan, you've got to have a daily, a weekly, a monthly, a quarterly, a yearly, and for us, the 18-month plan.
Yeah.
But putting it that way, when I make a plan, I have a tendency to go hither, thither, and yon, like throughout the plan. But you had us say, does this need to be done in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4? And I was able, finally, as retentive as I am, I was able to push those other weeks kind of to the back burner and say, I don't have to worry about that. Now, do I still need a reminder of what I don't need to worry about? Yes, I do. Last week I got in a major tizzy over who are not the theme of next year. We've got that, the theme of the conference, the dates of the conference, we have the conference graphics, we've got everything for next year, but we didn't have our presenter, our speaker. And I had talked with her and she had said yes, but it was just way out of my league, you know. And so I'm all in a tizzy about it until somebody, probably it was Danica on the NACWE team, said, you know, honey, you don't need to be worrying about this right now. You have 13 months to worry about this or to think about this. And then meanwhile, you know, the presenter reaches out to me and says, let's negotiate. You know, I'll meet you here if you meet me here. And I was able to say, yes, thank you. But the things we get in a tizzy about, and why couldn't I put a 12 on that one, not a 12, like, you know, a 3. Like, you don't have to worry about that one until month 3 after the conference.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it when you should be.
At least till after the conference.
It's the way we are. It's the way we
Yeah.
I think just knowing that about ourselves is a very freeing concept too.
Well, and I think too, that's like the biggest piece, like the reason people get frustrated with planners and is because we're all different. Like we know, uniquely and wonderfully made, right? And we need to create our system for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it has to work for how you work. And so just one of my favorite like activities with my clients who like one-on-one clients who need a system for something, right, is to peanut butter and jelly it out. Like how do you do each step like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old, right? Because we all function in our own realm of genius and don't even realize how we do the things we do. And so to sit down and intentionally like plan that out, like you're trying to explain to a 5-year-old how to do what you're going to do. I used to do it with my high school students. I used to be a high school math teacher. And I used to, for this like attention to detail thing, I used to have them write directions on how to get from our classroom to the front office. And, you know, and then we'd all go together and follow all those directions. And so it'd be like, walk straight and then turn right. And so we just walk straight and we keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and then turn right somewhere way out. Way out when. So then they start going, okay, I need to say this, right? Like just backing that up a little bit.
I love it. I think you might be one of the most quotable people we've had this year. If you try to
jelly one I got from because I didn't know what to call it. I've done it for years with my students. And then I think it's Julie Stoian who calls it that all the time. And I was like, oh, that's a great phrase, peanut butter and jelly it out. Because I needed a name for it. Like
So you guys, do you have a last question for her? And then we'll, oh my gosh, you have to come back for one thing. And then we'll pray. If you want to hear more from Heather, you need to sign up for the conference, not pointing fingers at anybody, but there's 2 people in this room that need to sign up.
It's not me.
Everybody raise your hand. If
It usually is me, by the way. It usually is me, last minute Lucy, but it's not me this time.
Is that a prophecy or something, Karen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. After last week. Yeah, there's some heads nodding in this room.
yeah.
Let us know. There are 2 people in the room. That's what it made me think of.
Oh, that's hilarious. What do you mean?
I want to say,
Angela, right? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like WRITE?
Huh?
She said, have you seen the video of the father having his children write peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
I'm going to look that one up.
Okay, I'm in. I was trying to find, I'm on my phone and I never come in on my phone, so I didn't know where all the buttons were. What it is a father has his 2 children sitting there and he has them write the directions for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, just like Heather said that she made her students do with going to the front door of the school. It is absolutely hysterical and infuriating at the same time because he is just, no little detail does he let them get by. And they're laughing at first and then they're getting frustrated and then they're all laughing. And it's like, I sent it to someone and I said, the verse under there, fathers, do not provoke your children because that's what he was doing. It was like, oh, no, don't give them any breaks. It's funny. You'll have to see if you can find it.
It's true, though. When we were teaching our kids to drive, before they even had their learner's permits, we would say to them, okay, we're going to church. Jeff, it's your turn to tell us how to get there. You know, and make them watch the roads and look at signs and give instructions, because you have to find your way. Was, of course, you understand this was before GPS and cell phones and all of those wonderful things.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not before cell phones. I'm not that. But anyway.
I was going to say, my husband is retired military. So I feel you guys. So, you know, when he was trying to teach our oldest daughter, you know, to drive and everything, oh, she got no slack. And, you know, he wants it all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. And I felt really bad for her, but it was good because he's really calm. He's like, no. And she's like, you know, the commercials where he's like, fix all the mirrors, make sure your seat. And she's like, can I turn the key now? Nope. Before we have to talk about this, before you start that engine. And it was my younger daughter and I were in the back and we were laughing so hard. It was fun. It's
a great reminder for us, you know, is that Donald Miller, the story brand guy, says when you put your web page up or your piece of your web page or whatever, there needs to be step one, click here. This is what you're going to receive. This is what order things are going to happen in. This is what you need to do next. And then what's the path to success? So Stu McLaren, you know, once you get in, you want to click here, you want to go to this, you want to join the group, you want to put it on your calendar. They all say to be so successful. Have we put an offer out there and people are like, yeah, I get what you're trying to do, but I don't know how to do this? Because, I mean, I'm notorious for that. Just making an assumption that everybody knows what to do next. And then NACWE, there are so many things to do. You can't do them all. I can't do them all. One person can't do them all. Have we mapped out, which was what we're trying to do with the new games and things like that, how you can do what you need to do. If you need to be in the prayer calls, how do you do that? So, I mean, this has been so helpful, Heather. Any question? Nobody's popping in with a specific question for her before we go. I put the links in for you. I hope I got them right. And when we post the replay, why don't you go in and put all that
for sure
in there too again?
Yep.
And Danica had a question.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm excited that I get round two at the NACWE conference and get to hear you again.
She stopped at a park so she could co-host this meeting. That's above and beyond the Call of Duty.
That's awesome.
That's commitment.
That's the NACWE team for you.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, I did hear one, Karen, just for like a little aside. One of the things I saw somebody do with a course that was like super helpful was to make a video walking them through, like, here's this link, put it in the bookmark. Here's this link, add it to that bookmark folder, so that they had it all like right there. I was like, oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, I think either I did it or I think Callie might have done it. And when you go finally get into the NACWE Classroom Vault, there's an orientation video. And she literally, I'm pretty sure it was Callie, not me. She literally says, click here. This is the way you log in. Here's the way you find stuff. It's just amazing. We to take the time to do things like that.
Yeah.
Well, y'all save the chat room if you would like. And because it's packed. This time I was quoting you about everything, thinking.
Oh, good.
It was really good.
We use our notes to make posts for you, Heather, like 5 days out from, for the next 5 days after your presentation gets posted. So kind of to remind people to watch and that sort of thing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pray us out. Father God, thank you. I want to know so much more about how my brain works, and there's such freedom in that, to know that what part of what I tell myself is what I will do. We all need that because there are just too many roadblocks as entrepreneurs, things trying to trip us up. And of course we know the enemy doesn't want us to succeed. So now we know that you've given us all we need to do what you've called us to do. Lord, renew our calling. Give us a new passion for following Heather's instructions on being more productive instead of being procrastinators, Lord. We want to do what we do well. We want to hear you say, well done, good and faithful servant. So Help us as we leave here to take a nugget or two from this presentation and really apply it to our lives. And we ask these things in Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen. God bless you.
See you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.